The NFL draft
Mm.
is, 71 hours away now? It's probably already started by this time Thursday. And Tennessee's got some guys that are expected to go. There are 4 names I'm seeing floated around out there in just about every 7-round mock draft that are supposed to be selected in the 2025 NFL draft. Now, there have been some others that have included names that I haven't seen on many of them, but we'll just take a look at some of these guys and look at where they're supposed to go on these based on these latest projections for the NFL draft in 2025. So, I have a mock draft from CBS and I have a mock draft from NFL Network. Both of these mock drafts are about 4 days old now. They're in agreement on some things, not everything though. They do have some very different ideas of where some of the Tennessee prospects will wind up going on whatever day it is they go in the draft, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. But depending on who you ask, Tennessee might not have anybody going on Thursday. And that is the case in both of these drafts, as the first Vol off the board, and this does seem to be a consensus, they just don't know where he's going to go, is James Pierce Jr. Now, the CBS mock draft from Josh Edwards has James Pierce going to the Tennessee Titans at number 35. The NFL Network mock draft from Chad Reuter has him falling all the way down to number 60 to the Detroit Lions. Your initial reaction, Jordan?
Well, that last one really caught my attention. 60 to the Detroit Lions, because if you were looking at any article heading into the 2024 season, any article about mock drafts, he was like a consensus top 5 overall pick. Almost every website that I saw for the mock drafts had James Pierce going number 1 overall. So for him to possibly drop down to the 60th pick, that's just such a wild jump that it makes me wonder if he truly did get drafted at like the 60th pick in the NFL draft, then I would almost wonder if this character concern things are true. And if that's the case and they are true, then I would like to learn more details about that, because with a player as talented as James Pierce is, I mean, he's one of the best defensive linemen that I've ever seen, of being able to time snap counts and being able to get into the backfield. I mean, I know he's got to build upon more stuff than just pass rushing, may become more effective in the run game and everything like that. But to drop all the way down to the 60th pick in the NFL draft, I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, so here's my take on it, right? I don't think it's just the character concerns. That's an interesting narrative that's being peddled out there that we don't know if it really has any substance to it or not. We'll see, I guess, in the coming months. I don't know if there's any true substance to it. But one thing I have seen a lot of is just the fact that he's just too aggressive out of the gate. He's just too much of a bull in a china shop, that after he has that initial burst, he misses on ball carriers in the backfield as a result, just because it's just so much initially. And I think that is a bit of a knock on him, a reasonable knock, I would say, because it felt like at times last year he was a little less effective than he could have been. But looking at just comparing the mock drafts, I would say Tennessee is probably a better fit than Detroit. And obviously, I'm a little bit of a homer here, rooting for the Tennessee Titans. But what I'll say on this is the Titans, they need an edge rusher pretty desperately, because they've gotten rid of a lot of their good ones lately. Harold Landry, to be specific. But you look at their team needs, it's up there with some of their biggest ones, along with wide receiver. So they could draft a wide receiver up there as well. We'll see. But, just looking at what they really need, quarterback is all but a guarantee at this point. So I'd like to see them add an edge rusher, whether it's him, whether it's somebody like Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. I'd be over the moon about that one. If Tennessee could get him, that would be awesome. But Detroit, they've just got so many guys that are going to be coming back from injury that, like, how are you going to work him into the lineup? Because I think he's good enough to start somewhere in the NFL. It's just a matter of where he's going to fall at this point.
Well, if Aiden Hutchinson comes back and is as good as he was before, then I think that would be insane to have him and Pierce lined up across from each other. But Detroit, I wouldn't think that that's something that they really need to fight for in this draft, considering they have.
They got Marcus Davenport, too, another proven guy in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it hurts having more edge rushers for any team because I think blitzing, putting pressure on the quarterback is one of the most effective things that you can do in football. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see him going to 60th. I don't see the Detroit Lions trying to pick him up. I think he could be a good fit with the Titans because, like you mentioned, they do need some edge rushers and everything. But I just don't see him falling so far in the draft. And I get the concerns people have with him because I played defensive line through high school and when I played football too. And I get it. I get it. It's hard to like not want to go take the quarterback's head off and to get too fixated on making the big play like the sack and stuff. But I think that's something that NFL scouts or NFL teams can work around. I think that his athletic upside is so insane that you have to like take the risk on him, I feel like, and you can turn him into a better tackler, get him to break down at the line quicker because I mean, he's not just a speed guy either. I mean, he's been able to time up these blitzes a lot of the time, but he's also shown power. I can't remember what team it was against. Maybe it was UTEP or something like that, but he came around the edge at one play. And not only did he beat the offensive tackle out of their stance, he also put both his hands on him and manhandled him all the way back into the quarterback. And you're talking about a defensive lineman that only weighs 240 pounds. And he's able to manhandle these 310 plus pound tackles and to treat him any way that he wants to. I mean, if he can get better at making tackles at the line of scrimmage and doing all of that and not worry so much about just taking the quarterback's head off, then I think he can be a phenomenal defensive lineman in the NFL. And I think I'd be surprised if he even goes in the second round. Like, I feel like he's got to be a first round pick, but that's just
but
me.
Here's the bizarre thing is that the more and more I look at these mock drafts, the more they suggest he's going to fall to the second round. Like the highest I've seen him in the last couple of weeks, I think has been at 29 to the Commanders. So I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve a first round pick, but there just seems to be some weird agreement between all these projections that say he's not going to make it up there. But that's James Pierce. We still have a few more to go over here as we are slowly running out of time. Dylan Sampson is up next on my list here. The CBS mock has him going at number 79 to the Texans, so that is round 3. And then the NFL mock draft has him going at the beginning of round 4 to the Cleveland Browns. Now, here's the thing. We trash the Cleveland Browns as an organization all the time as football fans. It just happens. But I think this is a great fit for him should he go there, just because it's a quick path to the field. Like, you look at Houston, he might be the third running back on that team with Damian Pierce and Joe Mixon, right?
Yeah. And then with the Browns too, I mean, he has potential to learn under one of the best running backs in the NFL for like the past 5 seasons, and Nick Chubb. And
he's gone now in free agency.
Oh, he is, really?
Yeah. So they've only got 2 running backs on that roster right now.
Oh, then that's even more perfect opportunity for him to go to the Browns.
Cedric Tillman, team up.
Yeah, already got a friend on the roster.
Yeah, that helps out a lot. So, and obviously the Browns have a lot of team needs this year, one of which is quarterback. And we won't get too far into the weeds here, but 2 of the names that I keep seeing linked to the Browns are Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe. I don't know how that would work with a guy like Dylan Sampson, who's been a feature back for so long, with 2 guys, one in particular that really, really likes to run the football. So that may change things. But overall, I would say that that's the better option there than Houston. I know Houston's kind of got it a little more figured out right now, But just the fact that you've got potentially two guys over you, and I look at the quickness of the path to the field more so than anything here. But I think that's a bit of a disadvantage for a guy like Sampson if he were to go to Houston. So that's what I got on Sampson. Up next, we got Omar Norman Lott. And the CBS mock has him going at 92 to the Seahawks. So that's just barely staying in day 2 of the NFL draft. And NFL Network has him going at number 140 to the Carolina Panthers, joining fellow VFL Shy Tuttle in the defensive line room. I was looking at the Seahawks interior defensive line earlier this week. I think they have two guys that are starters, that are like proven starters. They signed, who was it, Quentin Bohanna from the Cowboys, who was kind of a depth piece. But if he were to go there, he'd be like a nice rotational piece for the Seahawks. I think Carolina built up its depth a little bit more this season. So I think Seattle is the better fit there if you're Omar Norman Lott.
I think, Norman Lott, I haven't really thought about him too much in the draft. I mean, if he went to the Seahawks, I'm not aware of too many players on the Seahawks defense, to be honest. It seems like the past couple of years they've lost all of the big name people that they once had, like Wagner, and then they had like Richard Sherman and all of them and stuff. I haven't heard as much from Seahawks defense, so I'm not as sure how he could fit into there. But I will say that they probably need him, considering that I haven't heard much from their defense as a whole as of late. But I mean, Norman Lott, I don't know what his potential is as a NFL football player, but I think that he could be a serviceable, like, rotational guy in the NFL. I don't know if he'll ever be like an all-pro player or anything like that. I don't think that would be the case, but I mean, he could be a solid guy that you move in for like third down situations or something like that. And I mean, he could be a valuable piece to a team.
Yeah, the general consensus I'm seeing from these mocks is that he's going somewhere in the middle rounds. I don't know where exactly it'll be because it's really just guesswork by that point. But if he's to go at above like 130, I would say that's really good. A lot of these guys are projected to go somewhere between like 80 and 120. I've noticed for Tennessee, so it would be good for him, and not a guy that we're going to think about a ton in Tennessee football history. I don't think, just because he was here 2 years, he transferred in, and he was a good player, but he didn't really stand out, I wouldn't say, when he was here in Tennessee. But that's just how the NFL is sometimes. You get guys that don't do a ton in college or nearly as much as you think, and then they just turn out to be these terrific NFL players. So maybe that happens with Norman Lott. Gonna keep going through here. Dante Thornton is the next name I've got up on here. Now, this is an interesting one. This is a really interesting one because I've seen him go in that 80 to 120 range for the most part, up until really this last week. But I was looking at something, I think it was on DraftWire, which is USA Today. They put out a top 250 prospects list, and he wasn't on it. And then I look at this CBS mock draft. They've got him all the way down at number 213 to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the NFL Network mock draft has him going at 102 to the Detroit Lions. Now, honestly, I think going at 213 to the Raiders is terrific value should they get him, because if you look at the Raiders wide receiver room, who is their best receiver? Jacoby Myers? I know Brock Bowers is their best statistical guy, but he's a tight end. You need other good wide receivers to help him out. So, that would be a great get for the Raiders right there. And I'm just thinking about the Lions. Like, there's so many guys in that room he'd have to compete with, right? Like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tim Patrick, Jameson Williams. He'd be buried on that depth chart. At least that's what I think.
I feel like it could be good for him though, because I don't know. I don't know how you feel about Thornton, but I feel like he could be a good situational player in the NFL. Like I don't expect him to ever be a wide receiver number one or maybe even like a wide receiver number two for a team. But I think if you could like throw him in to like someone like the Chiefs or something, just a fast guy to just get open. I mean, because like if he's playing on the Chiefs, everyone's gonna be focused on Kelsey. They're gonna be focused on anybody else, and just to have him just flying open deep for a pass, like I feel like he's one of those receivers that you only need him to make one big play each game and then he's going to contribute. So I mean, I could see, I mean, I get what you're saying, like him being buried with the Lions depth chart and stuff, but maybe that's what they need is just a guy just to plug in, like just forget about him the whole game, then plug him in, and boom, you just got like a 35-yard catch.
Yeah, and maybe he is a plug and play guy, but I mean, he could still work his way in as a receiver too. I don't see him being a receiver one. I don't think that's a possibility right now. But he's a good compliment, I would say. And but I would honestly prefer him as long as the Raiders can do a good job with the quarterback situation, which they have some ineptitude as a franchise. So that does worry me a little bit. But I think overall that would not be bad for him just because, it gives him an opportunity to get on the field quicker potentially should he be drafted by the Raiders. So two more names that I've stumbled across in these mock drafts, and these are not names that I've seen in any previous mock drafts. So this is completely new to me. And this first guy, he was only in the NFL Network mock draft, and that is none other than Horace Brew McCoy, going at number 230 overall to the Carolina Panthers. And looking at that receiver room, you've got like this mixture of both old and young guys. Younger guys like Xavier Legette or Legette, however he pronounces his name, that are not as proven in the NFL yet. But then you got guys like Adam Thielen who were good elsewhere for a time and just haven't really been that good in their current spot. And I understand why Brew is not in a lot of these mocks, right? You had a little bit of an injury issue this year. You absolutely had one in 2023. So, unfortunately, things like that do weigh against guys when they get drafted, if they get drafted. But I would be happy to see him get drafted because, again, not everybody expects him to get drafted. And we'll just have to see if he does. 230 is, again, at a point where it's very much guesswork at that point in the draft, but it's also a point where you can find some hidden gems as well. Guys that you didn't necessarily think would be as good turn up in that part of the draft, and they end up being steals for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brew McCoy could be one of those players that comes in the draft and, provides more to your team than you would even think. I mean, I know they both shared the same number at Tennessee, but I mean, kind of reminds me a little bit of a Jawan Jennings, a little bit like, not
Good blocking receivers.
yeah, good blocking receiver, not known for like crazy speed or anything like that. Fell to later parts of the draft, and but I mean, look how Jawan Jennings has been doing in the NFL. I mean, he was almost Super Bowl MVP if the 49ers would have won that one. Not saying that Brew McCoy is going to be as good as Jawan Jennings or anything like that, but I think that he's one of those people that maybe don't get as much attention because he's an older guy. He's been in college for a while. He had a little bit of off the field issues before coming to Tennessee. But I mean, I think Brew McCoy showed he seemingly was a really good leader for Tennessee. And I think that he could be a good locker room piece for an NFL franchise. And I don't think that he'll have, I wouldn't be surprised if he went undrafted, but if he did get drafted in the later rounds, I think he could be a serviceable piece for an NFL team. But I don't think there's any crazy expectations for Brew McCoy.
All right, last guy that I have on here that is expected to get drafted according to one of these mocks, and it's only in the CBS mock draft. And CBS has him as your 2025 Mr. Irrelevant. That would be a first in Tennessee program history to have Mr. Irrelevant. It is none other than Elijah Simmons.
Yes, Elijah Simmons, a name that you haven't heard every year for the past like 7 years.
Yes. So, what are 3 things that come to mind when you think about Elijah Simmons, Jordan?
Well, I mean, based on our conversations earlier, I guess quite the singer is one of them
Yes.
now.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You guys need to look him up if you haven't seen his clips of his singing. He sung the national anthem at a Tennessee baseball game. I guess that was maybe 2 years ago now. And then there's another clip of him in high school, and it's just like he's the songbird of our generation. Like if we could find a way to get this guy onto American Idol after he's done playing football, then we need to. We really need to. The other 2 things, J.J. Watt wanted to draft him back in 2019 when he saw him standing on the NFL draft stage when it was in Nashville with all those other Nashville area high school football players. And then, of course, you had that video of him when he was in high school throwing down a dunk and then chucking in a half court shot on the other end. Or not even a half, well, not a half court, a full court shot. My bad. Impressive athletic specimen. We didn't really get to see much of it here at Tennessee, honestly. And some of that has to do with injuries. And I know, obviously, he came into college a little overweight, unlike most guys who usually have to put on a lot of weight when they get to college. And yeah, he made plays every now and again, but overall, it was just a lot of hype and not a lot of delivery, I guess, from him. And he would be going to the Chiefs if he's drafted at 257 overall. I'd love to see him get drafted. Would love to see any of these guys get drafted. But I just don't really know what kind of expectation there is for him.
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, I know there was a lot of players on the old Butch Jones teams that I didn't think of much while they're at Tennessee, and then they went to the NFL, and it's like, oh wow, like look at our third string like defensive tackle out here, like starting in the NFL. Like it seemed like we had a lot of that when Butch Jones is there. Maybe Elijah Simmons could be another guy like that, like guy that Tennessee fans didn't see too much from. Like I don't think there's many fans that were going crazy for Elijah Simmons like they were for like James Pierce and stuff. But I mean, like, who knows? Maybe he could find his way and make an NFL roster and end up getting playing time. Because I will say, you mentioned him earlier, Shy Tuttle. I mean, when he was at Tennessee, I thought that he was a little bit of a disappointment. Like there was a lot of hype surrounding him. So much hype surrounding him, and then there's other players too. But Shy Tuttle really stood out to me. Like I was like, oh, okay, well, this dude's gonna walk into the SEC and be like an All-American. And then I don't remember him doing much at all at Tennessee. And now he's been getting a lot of playing time in the NFL. I mean, maybe Elijah Simmons could be similar to Shy Tuttle in that sense, but I haven't seen a whole bunch of him at Tennessee. But I would think it would be cool to have another player get drafted. Of course, you want the whole team to get drafted if they can.
Yeah. And before we wrap up here, there is one name that you'll notice I have not mentioned, and that is Cooper Mays, Tennessee's starting center for the past 5 years, supposedly one of the best centers in college football, top 3 center all of last season, I would say. ESPN puts out that list of best available players going into a draft. You click on ESPN, he's not even in like the top 20 available centers this year, which is so interesting. And I think he's deserving to be drafted. And I get why there are knocks on him, right? There's a bit of an injury history there. It's not just with him. It kind of runs in the family, unfortunately, from what we've seen. But why is he not getting drafted? And we're seeing guys like Brew McCoy, who have had at least one major injury in the last 2 years. What is a guy like Elijah Simmons doing to get drafted over Cooper Mays? And that's no disrespect to either one of those two guys, but how is it worse off for him than either of the two of them? That's something that I've just yet to figure out, and I don't know if I ever will, honestly.
Yeah, the Cooper Mays situation baffles me because I was actually writing an article recently about the NFL draft and some of the Tennessee players that can be in it. And I talked about Cooper Mays, and it was just interesting doing my research to find out that like no team seemed to really be interested in him. Like I know Tennessee's website had him listed at about like 6'4", 210. And then like when he got his measurements for the pro day, whatever, he was 2 inches shorter. They had him at like 6'2", like 305. So he's a little bit smaller than he was initially listed. But I mean, center is not one of the offensive line positions where you have to be massive. Of course, you still have to be big, but I think you can get away being smaller at center than you can any other positions of the offensive line. And we've seen smaller centers be good before, like Jason Kelsey was with the Eagles and everything. And for him to be a Remington Trophy semifinalist and for him to not even be in like top 20, like on a big board, it's like, what's going on here? Like he may have had some injury issues at Tennessee, but I don't think he's missed more than 10 games. I think he may have missed around like 8 or 9 total, which of course you don't want your players missing any. But I mean, for a guy that's achieved as much as him, I mean, Remington semifinalist, I think he was all SEC maybe twice. I mean, this is a guy that has a lot of accolades from his career at Tennessee, yet no teams are interested in him. Like, I can't really wrap my mind around that. I mean, of course, I'm not an NFL scout. I'm not getting paid all this money to research all these players. But I mean, like, from what you see from his time at Tennessee, what he's done on the field, how he's been as a leader, I'm shocked that he wouldn't go as like early as like the 3rd round or something like that. And they're talking about him not even being drafted.
Yeah, it's really strange. And the only place where I saw him even linked to be drafted, I don't even know how much credibility there is to it because it was some A to Z article that saw a draft. This may have been several months ago now, where he was linked to the Philadelphia Eagles, and they just, I think, negotiated a deal with their center, Cam Jurgens, today. I want to say I saw the Adam Schefter notification on my phone earlier, but yeah, just no attention whatsoever for Cooper Mays right now, and that's really strange. But you never know. Some of these guys go undrafted and they end up proving a lot of people wrong. There have been some really, really great undrafted players in years past, so that's always a possibility as well.
Yeah, and if he could get onto a team like the Eagles, I mean, I think that would be perfect for him because I've heard extraordinary things about their offensive line coach and how he's been able to essentially like find like rugby players and like basketball players and like turn them into like all pro offensive linemen. So, I mean, if he could luck into a situation like that, I think that'd be phenomenal for him. But for whatever reason, for whatever reason's going on, NFL scouts are not interested in him. But I mean, I feel like a team's definitely going to pick him up. Even if he doesn't get drafted, I feel like he for sure makes a practice squad.